the more perspectives I can learn about a situation, the better I feel like I can come to a logical conclusion. If I don't understand enough about a situation, I'm not going to talk about it until I do. And I feel like my bar for knowledge is quite higher than most people, which always puts me at a disadvantage because I often don't speak about things while they're relevant, while people are still trending the topic, while people are still posting their swears. But I'm so thankful that this is not a moment, it's a movement, if I may quote Hamilton. Because I've been able to sit back, acquire knowledge. And by knowledge, I don't just mean books. Because a lot of people think that I mean like, you got to read a book a day. And I'm like, but that's not, has nothing to do with being a part of this movement. This movement requires social knowledge. It requires a knowledge and understanding of what society looks like right now, as well as how it looked in the past. But we cannot make assumptions about the future without correct knowledge about the present and the past. So the reason that Hot Boy Summer kind of, makes me feel some type of way, it's just that we have seen trans black women, dark skinned black women, women who don't fit the status quo of beauty be forgotten in this whole entire movement. And when I mean forgotten, I mean truly, truly forgotten. Breonna Taylor's name hit number one, two, three times. And that does not discredit George Floyd. George Floyd, what happened to him was a tragedy, but what happened to Breonna was also a tragedy and should be given the same amount of energy. And at first, when I heard that, I didn't say anything other than a hashtag. Not because I didn't have thoughts and feelings about it, but because it was a trigger for me. It was completely triggering for me. To watch something that I've been trying to tell myself is a trauma associated feeling be proven wrong. Like it's a trauma associated memory for a reason. I didn't just make up how I felt about black men half my life. Because what most people don't know is that I swore from like a very young age I'd never marry a black man. Never. That I'd never date one. And it came from the same equivalence that black men have about black women. That internal hate of self. But mine was an external hate of other black men who hurt me. And I think to me that was one of the fundamental differences. It had nothing to do with hating me, because I was afraid that every black man was going to be like the black man in my life. And what I thought was very personal, that I shouldn't equate to every guy out there, and I still don't equate to every guy out there, is too common. It's not even a 50-50 chance, it's more like a 75-25% chance that if I run into a black male, then I'm not going to be their type. One, I'm plus size, so one downfall. Secondly, I'm dark skinned, like Alabama raised in the sun, dark skin. 3, I don't subscribe to a lot of the traditional values that a lot of my black male peers want me to. And it's not that there aren't any black male peers who aren't trying to break this status quo of them. It's just that when they do, they have every roadblock in the way. To me, if you are homophobic, you can't love me. Not because I'm homosexual, but because I support homosexuality. And if you don't, I can't get with that. And there's plenty of women, plenty of black women who don't believe in homosexuality. But there is just so many other disparities that black men won't change their mind on that is hindering them from being our men. In order for this movement to work, we have to accept all black lives. That means if a black trans person dies, it should be posted on your timeline. You posted Breonna Taylor, you posted George Floyd. We can't leave behind black people. You can't, especially if they are working towards our good. You definitely can't leave behind dark-skinned girls. You can't. You can't pick and choose which black people get to become elevated. That is literally what colorism is based off of. And so they could have light-skinned children, hoping that means they could be a part of white society. They were always deemed prettier and fair and nicer and sweeter and the ideal black woman. So if you want to lead anything in this movement, you have to mean all Black people. If you don't, you cannot lead anything. You can be a part because you are also a Black person. But I'm not going to call on any leader who doesn't understand that trans Black lives matter, that they get killed at a much higher rate than any, that dark-skinned girls often have to fight for men who didn't want them, who would leave them behind. We fight for all of y'all. It means you have to fight for all of us. The reason that I'm bringing this up, we need Black women to lead this movement. One, Black mothers. Black mothers have been the cornerstone of all of this. Like, I think of George Floyd calling on his Black mother. And it's not that means that we don't need Black men to be a part of the movement. But they need to allow Black women to lead. Because we are the only people, like I said, knowledge, who understands not only the Black struggle, but the female struggle, but the colorism struggle, but the sexuality struggle. Because we've seen all of it for the most part. Even if we're straight. Even if we're straight, we're assumed that we're bi. We assume we want a threesome. You see what I'm saying? We get the perspective, the best. We get the most perspective than any person within the movement. Again, this is not saying that if you're a Black male, Black cis male, that you aren't going to be a part of this movement. You are. You're going to be fundamental to this movement. But this is chess, not checkers. Y'all got to go out and protect the queens. But let us make the moves. Because we can see through their bullshit quicker. We got to look at Beyonce. Beyonce didn't say nothing when she sent that email. Jay-Z goes up and gets the NFL. And I'm not hating on Jay-Z at all. I think it's a part of the movement. But when it comes to the voice of the movement, when it comes to who the vision that people need to see, it needs to be Black women. I'm not offering up myself. I got my purpose. I got my place. But women got to speak up about that. And I mean loud, roaring. I'm going to really just try to keep it 100 with you. People only saw this George Floyd incident because there was a pandemic, no sports, and Donald Trump in the White House. 3 of the worst things I could possibly think should just finally see how blatant racism is in this country. Even when it's not blatant. You see the microaggressions that really, truly do. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. But if you add 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, that's a lot more than 2. I mean, that probably made no sense. My point is, all those microaggressions add up. And if you aren't trying to subtract, trying to take away from that in every aspect of your life, because that's what we have to do. My Blackness is a threat. That means I have to make it look as non-threatening as possible with microaggressions. What I wear, the clothing I have on, how I do my makeup, the type of hair I have in my head, how much money is in my bank account, the cars I drive. Too expensive? Stole it. Too cheap? Thug. And don't think that doesn't apply to Black women because I've gotten stopped before. It doesn't make sense that we had to change even the little things in our lives. If you have to change some microaggressions in your life to just maybe help us survive, what is it going to do? I don't know. Maybe what you do won't work. But just like we have to persevere and fight the next day because of that life, you do too. Black men, women, Black women have had to deal with your bullshit, and you know it, for as many years as we've been on this continent. Microaggressions, being feminine enough, trying to make her hair look nice, always being behind you, never talking too much, never making too much money than you. Ooh, let's talk about that one. We had to do microaggressions just so that we hope you wouldn't hurt us. And you still did. But sometimes that stings, bro. You know it stings too. Because you could have did it with any girl. There's so many fine, delicious dark-skinned women. And men, Black men, y'all love making us seem like crazy. We not. We just see things for what they are, not just for now, but for the future. Because we see so much further into the future. You guys always trying to prove something. We understand that pride is for a downfall. Women often put ourselves in the subservient role because we often understand that the first person typically gets, the worst burn. I know that for a fact. I would watch my brother do some super crap and be like, all right, I ain't got to do that. That should not be something attributed to gender. But if we can still hold trauma from slavery generations through, because it being taught generations through, then why couldn't this stuff be? Why can't me be able to think further than you be attributed to the fact my ancestors had to in order to survive, especially without you, because they often broke black men first. Even Harriet Tubman should be the proof that women have to be the leaders of this movement, because black men need to heal. They need to get better. They need to get wiser. They need to get organized. They hate each other right now. I'm not saying there's no black women out there that don't hate another black woman for no reason. There's haters in every community. But I have really seen niggas really fight almost to the death over some stupid ass shit. I've been in positions where I could have done those same exact things, and I didn't, because I understood. If I get locked up right now, that goes on my record. As black women even allowed to have that much pride? We weren't allowed the pride to feel like I could do it even without a nigga. Nuh-uh. Right now, I really do feel like if we're going to take this seriously, leadership against racism has to start with the people who can understand multiple perspectives on racism, colorism, microaggressions, LGBTQ. Like I said, black men, you gotta be a part of it. You can be sitting by our sides helping us think shit out. But women gotta be the face. Black women gotta be the face. But quite honestly, the only way I see this thing lasting past the now, it's not that I don't think everyone's not contributing right now and getting real change done, because it is. It's happening. It really is. It's 2 years from now. Are there still going to be laws coming up to change stuff for black people? Are there still people out there on the front lines petitioning, protesting?